Yes.
They dump the
Was here today to be with Evelyn Myrie, who is endorsing me for the position of mayor. Evelyn and I have worked together for decades in this community on equity and inclusion issues and those kinds of community priorities. Sadly, she's a little bit late, and I know you've been waiting for some time, so I thought I would just take questions that folks might have, and if she arrives, she can say a few words. She's supposed to be apparently on her way, and if for some reason things get delayed even further, then we can set up one-on-ones with her if you prefer. So on that note, I'll take any questions you might have. Kind of doing it a bit backwards, but that's okay.
Did you want to just sort of explain maybe a little bit about your action plan specifically for equity and diversity?
You know, yeah, for sure. And a big part of making sure that we're addressing the imperative to invite people into the decision making, but also the conversations about how our city grows and how it's able to meet the needs of all of the people in our communities is by having people at the table. And that's what I've learned as a leader, is that when you invite people into the conversation, you create space for everyone's voices, it creates better decisions, and it creates an environment where everybody feels welcome, included, and part of the city. And people are part of our city. Our city is made up of all kinds of people, and having them all engaged is important.
You probably remember 2019 Pride,
Sure.
the clashes with I don't even know what to call them, but the clashes that happened there. Would you, when you look at how the city handled that and the mayor handled that, do you have would you have had a different response, or do you have a critique of how that was handled?
Hello, Evelyn. Hello. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. So we've gone to a couple questions, and you can say things in a minute. So I'm not going to relive what happened back when the clash occurred at Pride in Gage Park, I believe it was, a couple of years ago. I think that there have been I would hope that there were some lessons learned by those experiences. What I can say, though, is the hate and intolerance that we see growing in our city is really, really troubling. I was just meeting this morning with the Jewish community, and they have concerns. I know that the BIPOC community, Black, Indigenous, people of color, are all very concerned. The LGBTQ 2SIA plus community is very concerned, and the way that we address those concerns is by acknowledging what's happening, by making sure that when incidents occur, that we're working together to address them, to first of all acknowledge them and address them, and to come together to say that's not acceptable in a city like Hamilton. And I know that over the years there have been these kinds of incidents. What we need to do is make sure that we're learning from them, and I'm hopeful that that's happened, but certainly I've done a lot of that engagement and learning over my life, and I'm looking forward to being able to reflect that if I'm able to become the mayor of the city in a couple of weeks' time.
Sorry, I have a question for both Evelyn.
Do you want to, maybe we'll let Evelyn say a few words now, and then we'll go on to the Q&A.
Yeah, so I just wanted to let you know how thrilled I am and excited to have Andrea running for mayor of the city of Hamilton. I think our experience, the knowledge she has around community, her long-standing commitment to building Hamilton as a place for us to live, thrive, is important. As a racialized woman, as a Black woman, I'm really happy to work with Andrea over the past, decades now, driving change to bring some of the issues facing our community to the agenda from the days of action, where we talk about equity, diversity, inclusion, and anti-racism. Andrea has been there. She's not on a learning curve, and that's important at this time in our history, that we're not, we want someone with the experience and the knowledge and the commitment to bring people at the table and to make space at the table. And I believe Andrea has those skills and those experience to collaborate and to find solutions. I'm excited about her involvement in being a candidate, and I'm looking forward, our community is looking forward the people I work with, looking forward to working with her to really make Hamilton a center of excellence, not only around diversity and inclusion, but a thriving and ambitious city to bring that to the reality. So I'm excited about that.
I have a question for actually
Sure.
if both yourself, Evelyn, and Andrea would like to answer. Yesterday, Councillor Ferguson made some disparaging remarks during a meeting in regards to the police board chair selection process. No need to repeat it, but you clearly know what he said. I just want to know your reaction to that, and what kind of large-scale implications does that have, having a councillor say something like that.
Well, we're glad he's leaving, quite frankly. So it really tells you that he's out of touch with reality, and his past is kind of historic and approach to addressing equity in this community is no more, and we're glad he's gone. So we're not going to give him that kind of oxygen, but we are quite disturbed by those comments to suggest that racialization and diversity really does not bring value to the table, and that's a really bad message. But the good thing about it is that he will no longer be at the city table to address those issues or to make those comments.
Andrew, do you want to follow
Sure,
up on that?
sure. I agree with what Evelyn has said. It's an out of touch perspective that has no place in a thriving, diverse, growing city. And anybody that brings those kinds of biases that don't acknowledge and celebrate what people of all backgrounds and faiths and lived experiences have is really missing out on a lot of opportunity and a lot of potential for our city. And so we have to embrace that potential. We have to embrace that opportunity, and we have to stand together as Hamiltonians to realize our city's potential, as Evelyn said.
City's has had a pretty poor track record with diversity on council. How do you think that reflects on the people who actually live in this city?
Well, I think what we need to do is make sure that we are making room at the table, as Evelyn said. I certainly have experience myself having done that at the provincial level, and it's about inviting people in, yes. But if you're not creating space for people to participate and engage, you're not collaborating with community, you're not reaching out, then you're not going to get any change. And I think that it's not change for the sake of change. It's change for the sake of embracing the many people who make our city such a wonderful place. And there's nothing to fear from that. And I find it troubling that comments are being made that kind of harken to some kind of fearfulness around the wonderful diversity in our city, and that's very out of touch, and it's not very positive in terms of the opportunities that we could have.
Was there anything you want to add, Evelyn?
Yeah, basically, creating space and creating systems, ensuring that the systems that we have inherited are fair and equitable. And I think people like Andrea's had the experience in working to address those issues. So I'm disappointed the council is creating fear in our community, that there's value there, diversity is a negative and it's not a positive attribute. So it's quite disturbing in 2022 that a councillor would verbally say that. Well, maybe they're thinking that, but to actually say that as a part of the official records of council and refuse to withdraw those comments. So it is disappointing, but as I said, the good thing about it is that he will no longer be there to share those perspectives. And I hope we bring in a new group of people with a more progressive thinking around building Hamilton as a place where everyone feel they belong. And that's really what it is, how you feel like you belong, and then you're able to contribute more so to your community. A sense of inclusion and belonging are key aspects of diverse and vibrant cities.
Specifically though, but maybe just not away, like I'm talking about Hamilton's track record of having a lack of diversity in council.
Yeah.
How do you think
So,
that's been a reflection?
Can I just say that, and thank you, Evelyn. Can I just say that Evelyn's right. It's there are things that can be done to change that situation. And as I was mentioning very briefly, and I'm not going to go on in any length, but you know, when I came to my former position, we had a situation where we talked a lot about equity and diversity, but we didn't reflect that at all as a political party. And now I'm no longer the leader of the Ontario NDP, but I'm leaving that role with a party that is very diverse, that has a lot of young people, that has a lot of black people, that had the first black caucus in Ontario, 50% women elected in 2014. Again in 2018, 50% of our caucus was women. In this last election, over 60% women. LGBTQ representation, Indigenous representation, the first First Nations person ever elected, the first Somali person ever elected to the Ontario legislature, the first Tibetan person, the first Bangladeshi woman in all of North America elected to the Ontario legislature under my leadership. Yes, it took my leadership, but it also took a lot of other people working together to make the space at the table, to bring people on, to respect people, to respect their voices, and to support them in their journey to become elected representatives. And when you have governments that reflect the communities that they serve, you're inevitably going to be making decisions that are better for our entire community, and that create that space of and that sense of and that reality of belonging and of confidence, right? And of opportunity. I mean, that's just the way it works. So it's not just about talking about it, as Evelyn said. It's about doing the things necessary to create the space, and that's what makes change happen.
And enough, performative action. We need to move to real action in the city. I'm really impressed that the number of people also running were racialized in the city for the first time. So yes, historically there has been an issue, and there are more people putting their names forward and creating that, want to create that space at the table, and making room at their table for them. So that's really exciting to see so many other people in different, from trustees to ward councillors. There are more people running for those positions. So it has been an issue, but we are certainly pushing forward and addressing some of those by encouraging people to get involved.
Is there anyone specific you're endorsing? That's the first candidate that is running.
So as mayor, I'm not endorsing anybody, and I'm not expecting anybody who's running to endorse me. Why? Because when the election is over, we're all going to have to work together. But the point is to make sure that we are clear about what the goals are in this regard, and I've always been clear about that for many years now, I mean, I'm hopeful that we will see some of the realization of some of those candidates around the council table, but what I think is most important is that as we grow as a city, and as we go through elections, and as we go through committees that are going to be having appointees, and I know this is part of the conversation that spurred that comment from Councillor Ferguson yesterday. We have to do away with those kinds of attitudes, and we have to really make sure that we're welcoming everybody to the table, and that's going to be the job of the council and the mayor, no matter who the faces are around the table. That has to be a priority for all of us. Sorry, go ahead, Tevye.
Oh, pardon me.
No, that's fine.
I wanted to get in here with a question. So we're talking about the police board and increasing diversity on the police board. And we're really talking about
One position,
recommendation for one position. There's been another, on a similar theme, Evelyn, I'm sure you paid attention to this as well, the Board of Health. Delegates to the Board of Health have called for an expansion to, well, I don't know if it's expansion, I think so, to include expert members of the Board of Health who could advise on a variety of medical issues, but also this speaks to equity at the Board of Health. I think this council has either slow-walked that procedure, that change, or flat out resisted it. What do you think about that, Andrea? What would you say about it?
Well, I think we just need to look at what other cities are doing and succeeding at. I don't know why there's so much fear of making these kinds of changes. We're all in it together. We're all Hamiltonians. We all want to see these boards function at their best capacity. So I can't understand why there's such a reluctance reluctance and a resistance. Certainly, the way we've always done things comes up. But really, do we always have to do things the way we've always done them? Has that always brought us the best result? And I don't know that that's the case. And so I don't have any concern at all about looking at all of the boards, frankly, and all of the committees to see how we can make sure that we're actually representing and serving the people of Hamilton the best. And when it comes to the Board of Health, the sky didn't fall in when Toronto expanded its Board of Health to include experts and other citizens. I mean, it didn't go, nothing bad happened. So I don't know what the fear is all about. I don't have any fear in that regard. I think it's important to have voices of expertise, voices of accountability in terms of councillors and also citizens.
In the wake of the, sorry,
I was going to give you one more question from
Sure.
you, Tevye, and then
Yeah.
Lisa, if you have a question.
Sure.
All right.
in the wake of the Pride violence, the days after that, and even before then, when we had yellow vesters and the
Oh.
anti-immigration
Yeah.
people marching in front of the Civic Plaza outside City Hall,
Yeah.
there were several comments, remarks from city councillors that this is a minority group of lunatics, and the broader community, that was the term that was used quite often by some city politicians, aren't like this. So there was almost sort of a downplaying, I think, from city politicians wanting to say Hamilton's not like this. We don't have as deep a problem as being that's being presented by some advocates. I don't know if you have an opinion on that, or if you sort of caught wind of those sort of responses. Maybe Evelyn, you want to address that too.
Well, I'll start by saying by turning away from the realities of hate in our community, I think that's a dangerous thing to do. I was just with the Jewish community this morning having a roundtable conversation, and we just saw more, visible signs of anti-Semitism happening in Hamilton just the other day. We know that Hamilton is a city that has one of the highest rates of hate crime reporting in all of the country, I believe, at least all of Ontario. So those are serious things that we have to address. We have a mayoral candidate that's a neo-Nazi and white supremacist running for mayor in our city. He lives in our city. So I don't think that we can pretend these things don't exist, but I do think that we can do things to make sure that people know that they are welcome in Hamilton, and that they are respected, and that we do believe that they are important people in our community, that they're Hamiltonians, and that we respect them for who they are, and that we want to hear their voices, and we want to know about how Hamilton can be a better place and a safer place for people to live. And that's whether you're a member of the Jewish community, whether you're a member of the Muslim community, whether you're whatever your faith is, whatever your racial background is, whatever your language spoken is, your mother tongue language, whenever you made Hamilton your home, and from wherever you came before you lived in Hamilton, we're all in it together, and we need to respect each other. And what we all need to do collectively is to say these kinds of behaviors are not acceptable. I do want to say that we have a lot of challenges in the city, and we have a lot of people who are having a hard time these days in our city, and we need to be respectful of that as well. And so when we look at the way things have been handled in the past, we learn from those moments. And I do want to say that it's not always easy to have that learning happen. But I would think that people would rather have the learning happen than us pretend that there isn't a problem, and that we don't step up to the plate and be serious about our obligations. It's something that that's going to take all of us, but I think we can absolutely make a huge difference here in Hamilton, and really push out the hate by filling it with respect and dignity and inclusion.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Just I'll let
Yeah, I was just going to say, we're looking for representation in our council who really understand those issues and will speak out, even when if it's a small number of people out there protesting. We need champions to really silence that voice around hate. So it's responsibility of leaders in mayoral positions, in council's position, to speak out at all times against hate. Silence is complicity, and really we want people who are able to do that, to drive out the darkness and to really bring in light with their voice. And we're looking for that kind of leadership for the city of Hamilton.
So I just wanted to ask,
Sure.
I know there's been, in the past, there have been groups who have concerns about racism in Hamilton, and they've asked to speak with the mayor and maybe haven't been able to kind of get the dialogue, the one-on-one dialogue that they're looking for from their leader of their city. And I'm just wondering if you are elected mayor, can you commit that you would say that you would be willing to speak with people who have concerns about racialized, bigotry and hatred in this city? Can you commit that you would be able to sit down with them one-on-one and hear their concerns?
Absolutely. That's been my lifelong commitment, and it's never changed from even before I was elected back. When was I first elected? 1997 to City Council. Even before that, that's who I am. That's what my values are, and absolutely, that's a commitment that I've always made. It's part of who I am.
Great. I think that's it. Thanks so much, folks.
Thanks,
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Here.
I'm glad you made it.
You were making me nervous.
That's what I said to Carla.